All right, what's up, underdogs? Welcome to another episode of the Underdawg Voice Podcast. Parents, athletes, let me ask you this. How many times have you watched a coach yell at a kid or an athlete gets frustrated with a teammate? Or you just thought this conflict stuff was just too much? Well, what if conflict isn't the enemy? What if it's the training ground for leadership? Today, we got a powerhouse guest, Dr. Jen Fry, conflict literacy expert, sports geographer, TEDx talk speaker, and the author of a game-changing book, I Said No, How to Have a Backbone of Boundaries Without Being a Jerk. She breaks it all down for us. So, let's get it. Dr. Jen, welcome to the show. How's everything?
Great. Thank you for having me here, friend.
No problem, no problem. So your book, we're gonna hop right into it because I want this got to be hot. So your book, I Said No. So let's
Mhm.
talk about that. Let's talk about that book for a minute.
So, I think for me, let me kind of give a preface. So I was a coach for 15 years. I
Mm-hmm.
coached youth sports, college sports. I've coached Olympians. I've coached for a national championship. I've coached at HBCUs. I've coached at all levels. And I think one of the things that has become apparent to me throughout the last 5 or 6 years is just the lack of conflict literacy in coaches and athletes. And
Right.
I think back to when I was a 27-year-old head coach, and I'm like, who gave Jen Fry the keys to the coach? Like that always astounds me that I'm 27. I'm a first year head coach as a D1 coach. It blew my mind. And I think what we can say is that across all sports, across all industries, when you go to your conventions or your associations, you get all the strategy, X's and O's, how to recruit, mental health, how to keep someone healthy, but you don't get any conflict. And I think that we do a disservice to our coaches and our athletes because we don't train them in those things. We don't look at our teams and our staffs as fertile grounds to teach about conflict. And to me, that's a big concern because why wouldn't we be teaching people about conflict? Why wouldn't we be teaching people how to navigate hard stuff with other people? Why aren't we teaching people how to manage your emotions when you're going through hard stuff? Why aren't we telling people and teaching them how to have conversations that are uncomfortable? And so for me, it was kind of this revelation of we're not teaching people the really hard stuff. I mean, yes, shooting a free throw with 2 seconds left on the clock, and this can make you be a national champion or second place is really hard. But I guarantee if you talk to a lot of athletes, they would rather do that 15,000 times than go have a conflict with their friend that their friend hurt their feelings, right? They would rather that than go and talk to their coach for playing time. They'd rather that than talk to their parents and tell their parents that they can't talk to them now. They would rather do anything else than have the hard conversations. So I said, why aren't we teaching people that? And that is something that I can then help teach is that I have this gift of helping people navigate through hard things, and part of it is conflict. And so why not be someone that's helping people gain a better understanding of conflict? And that's kind of how the book got started, was that people a lot of times are asking me about a book. And I never had thought, I mean, first off, I never had thought of getting a PhD ever. Because I didn't even know what that meant. And I got it done. And so then a lot of people were asking about writing a book. And I think one thing that I didn't realize when I started writing is how deeply personal it is. And when you're writing a book, especially about conflict, for me at least, I had to be very intentional about how I wrote the people in my life because that's going to be the only frame of reference anyone has. Right? My mom passed away 5 years ago. The way I write her is going to be the only frame of reference people will have.
Right.
Way I write about friends is the only frame of reference people have. So I had to just be a little bit more thoughtful about how I wrote about people. And so that's kind of how the book was alive, and people were just asking me about writing it. And so I said, let me see how hard this can be.
So I do agree with you on a lot what you said. I just think there's a lot of stuff we don't teach athletes and coaches and things like that. But like confidence. Confidence right now is the skill to me. I think, and that's what I'm trying to teach young people is how to be more confident, become leaders and stuff like that. So that's the thing that I do. But Dr. Jen, a lot of parents see confidence as something to avoid, right? So whether it's with coaches, with teammates, or even with their own kids at home, like you said. But in your book, I said no. You say conflict can actually be productive. So how does that mindset shift helps young athletes and their parents?
I think the first problem is a lot of us don't recognize that we have the skills of how our parents navigate conflict. I mean, coach, you and I are probably around the same age where it was like, don't be disrespectful to the parents if you want to push back. Kids should be seen but not heard. Don't get involved in grown-ups' business.
Mhm.
My mom's favorite was because I said so. So you had like when literally think about when you grew up, when could you actually actively be involved in conflict with your parents? You
Right.
couldn't be. So you are trained for decades to not have any type of conflict with your parents, even when you got older, 20s or 30s, right? Parents would, I brought you into this world, I could take you out. Don't talk to your parents like that. So at no point were we ever taught as youth to navigate conflict, but then as adults to navigate conflict.
Mm.
So if that's what our training ground is, then what that means is that we don't have the skills to navigate it, and we look at conflict as bad because that's the only thing that's shown us. Conflict has shown us in the world we grow up is that you don't talk back to people,
Mhm.
or we're taught, the way you get hurt is that you're yelling, you're screaming, you're raising your voice, you're ignoring people. We're not taught what does healthy conflict look like, feel like, sound like. We're not taught any of that. So then the people that were never taught those things now have kids and they
Mm.
don't know how to navigate it. And so that's one of the biggest problems is how do we talk to people that have such a bad thought process of conflict to get them to be willing to engage in it? Because it's about getting on the other side of it. And it's about how you treat people in the middle of conflict. And that's the thing that's really hard is that I don't want to engage in conflict with you if you're going to treat me really badly.
Right. Right.
And so that's the main thing is that parents look at conflict bad, kids look at conflict bad because no one has learned healthy conflict skills.
Right. Right. So I think schools, because I'm a teacher also, I think schools should have conflict resolution class. I really do. We have we became a community school this year, so we actually have uh program that's coming in this year, like once a month to talk to the kids about conflict resolution. So I think that's a good thing for schools. Uh, but I guess you got to become a community school to do that. I'm not sure.
I mean, there are some schools that still do it. The thing is that they have to put emphasis on it.
Right.
And, a large part of conflict resolution is that there has to be an admittance of harm and held accountable for harm.
Hmm.
And that's the first step is that how do we talk about conflict resolution if you're not willing to say that you harmed me?
Right. Right. So how can athletes start practicing these backbones or kids in general? Start practicing these backbone and boundary skills on the court or at home.
So I think it's two separate entities and both are really hard. I
Hmm.
think the first thing that's really hard with parents is that in a way parents feel like kids should not have boundaries. Right? So a kid, one of the things I talk about is little kids should be able to have body autonomy. Just go up and give Uncle Sam a kiss. Just go give grandpa a hug. I don't want to. No, you still have to do it. And they're taught that they don't get to have a boundary around who touches their body.
Right.
And so we have to think about like how deep it goes. So to me, when it comes into the home, it's not about the kids, it's about the parents.
Mm.
Because if you're going to teach your kid how to be really good with conflict, you have to know that they're going to push boundaries against you
Right.
and how you navigate it. Because, you know, you want your kid to say no. You just don't want them to say no to you.
Hmm.
Say no to everyone else. Right? You want your kid to speak up with everyone else, just not with you as a parent.
Mm.
And so that's I think the first problem is that I can tell kids to set boundaries and all that. But if they go home and they're being forced to hug their uncle, none of it matters.
Right. Right.
And so, I think that there's this, when it comes to the home life, there's a split of, you have boundaries, you can speak up, say no, but you're also under the supervision of your parents. Like you are. And there has to be acknowledgement of that. You are 10, 11, 12. Yes, you're getting autonomy. You're figuring out yourself, all that type of stuff. And you're still a little kid, right? Like both things can be true. And how do we navigate then have those conversations? So I think that's the first thing when it comes to that, is that parents have to be receptive to their kids setting boundaries, saying no, doing those type of things.
Okay.
They have to be okay with it.
Right.
The second part about it, we talk about the teams, is micro advocacy of going up, if you're not playing, of going up to your coach and asking specifically, what skills do I need to do to get better at? Not what do I need to do to get in the game? John's playing bad. Why can't I get in? No, because there's a skill set you have to be better at. A lot of parents come on. I'm in this volleyball parents Facebook group, and I don't have parents, but I don't have kids, but I go in there, and these parents are always like, my kid's sitting crying on the bench, and I'm like, well, have they asked the coach what they have to do to get better?
Right.
No, because they don't want any consequences. I'm like, baby, they're already on the bench. Like they're already sitting. What worse can happen? They've been sitting the bench for 10 straight games. Right. What are you worried about? But that again is parents not having conflict skills rubbing off on their kids. And their kids then being afraid because the parents are like, well, what about repercussions? And so I think the first thing is kids saying, what is it that I need to do to be able to get better at skill? What specific things? The second thing is being able to tell their teammates, like, you can't talk to me in a certain way.
Right.
I understand you're mad, sad, hurt, afraid, but you can't cuss at me. You can't scream at me. And so being willing to have those conversations with people that are really hard, but having them anyways.
Yeah, I think for me, I always tell my players that for me it's a hierarchy. Like I tell my parents all the time, do not come and talk to me about your kid playing time. Your kid need to come and talk to me about it, not you. Because if you come and talk to me about it, I'm gonna tell you go talk to your kid. Don't ask me nothing about no playing time. Anything that happens that your kid is worried about, they need to come and talk to me first. And then if I don't answer their questions or whatever, or if I tell them, all right, this is what you need to do, A, B, and C, and then they do it, then I still don't give them playing time, then you can step in and say,
Coach, I'm gonna push back on that. Just because you get better at skill doesn't mean you still deserve playing time.
Oh no, I know that, but I'm just I know that. I know that, but
I don't think parents still get to ask a question.
Yeah,
like I think even if their kid, if you say you need to be better at dribbling, and they get better, and then they're like, well, I'm still not playing. You got better, but your better is still not as good as this other player's best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Yeah, I get that. So, what's one mistake parents make when stepping in during a conflict?
Because they make it about them.
Right.
I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm pissed. Your emotions don't matter. Like literally, I'm not saying you don't get to have them. Like you can have your emotions all you want, but they don't matter. I have seen numerous times where a kid is really happy sitting the bench, and the parent is mad, and the parent is like, I know my kid's happy sitting the bench, but I'm pissed off. I'm spending all this money. I'm spending all this time. Your emotions don't matter. Only your kids do. So I think that's the first mistake, is that they center their emotions and they make themselves the main character, and their kid is pulled off to the side and trying to help manage their parents' emotions. Your emotions do not matter in this situation.
Right. I totally agree with you, because sometimes parents are living through their kids, and the kids sit on the bench like, I don't really want to play, so I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm just doing it because my parent making me do it. I'm cool. My mom don't say nothing. Dad don't say nothing. But they trust me. I had to put 3 parents off my team this year. Wasn't the kids, but it was the parents. So I had to literally like tell them, like, you can't come back, like, because you you're really overstepping some boundaries, like, really. So Yeah, and they don't know how to handle conflict either. So
No, because then they get real mad, and it's like you just because like I think one of the things that pisses me off, like, and I don't really get mad, but like what pisses me off when I see parents say, "I paid you, I paid for you as a coach, so I get to fill in the
right,
blank."
right,
Like absolutely not, absolutely that when I see parents write that, that makes me go 0 to 1,000. This idea of because you're paying for coaches, you get to treat coaches however you want and say whatever you want. Absolutely not, right? That entitlement. No, you don't get to come at me any old way. Send me emails like no. And they get real mad when you set the boundaries, but you don't get to do whatever you want just because you pay for your kids' tuition.
And I tell parents quick, you ain't paying me to coach, you're paying for my philosophy. That's what you're paying for. Like you, you ain't paying for me to coach. I do a lot of stuff for free. Like when I do travel sports, like y'all paying for your uniforms and the tournaments. You're not paying me. You're not paying me. Like you paying for gym time. And most of the time, because I'm a high school coach, your gym time is free. So like you're not paying me money like here, Coach Higgles, some money for coaching. No. You don't pay me for that. I pay for my own travel and all that stuff. So and that's why my boundaries is my boundaries because like I tell them, I spend more time with your child than I spend with my own children. Like so that we ain't doing all that. We ain't doing all that.
Well, but I think the thing is that they feel like they're very much entitled to a all of the time a coach has. Like I
Right.
will see so many parents who complain that they have to pay a tryout fee. And
Right.
it's like the coaches have to be there. Like what are
Right.
you talking about? The coaches have to be there. The coaches literally are spending their weekend away from their friends, family, whatever, to coach your kid for tryouts. Of course you should be paid.
Right. Right. So, how can setting healthy boundaries actually improve performance and relationship both on and off the court for athletes and their parents?
I think one of the things is that helps them gain control of self, of what they deserve, of what they like. You are deserving. And I think one thing I'll say is that we talk a lot about boundaries with women. We don't talk a lot about boundaries with men.
Hmm.
And men sometimes, especially young boys, don't think that they deserve boundaries. They don't deserve that type of stuff. And to me, it's even more crucial because if men understand their own boundaries, they'll understand other people's boundaries.
Right. Right.
And so I think that in that sense is what they can do is practice it with friends, practice it with teammates of, don't say those things around me. I'm not going to answer the phone after this time, whatever it is, like ways that they can set boundaries and be okay if people get mad. Because that's the thing about it is that when you set boundaries, people are habitual line steppers, right? They will
Hmm.
keep stepping over each line and you have to be okay with consistently saying your boundary. Because what happened is that someone will set a boundary, someone will step over and they'll be like, see, I tried. Okay, you did it once. You've never had a boundary with this person. You have to keep trying to do it and
Hmm.
knowing that they will get upset and you'll be okay with them being upset.
Get it. I get it. So, listen, parents, stick with us because in a few moments, we're going to dive in how saying no might actually be the best tool your athlete has for building confidence. And of course, you don't want to miss the fun fire round at the end. It's going to show you a whole different side of Dr. Jen. So, Dr. Jen, in your book, you talk about boundaries without being a jerk. All right, so let's get real. How can parents help their athletes set healthy boundaries without coming off as disrespectful to coaches or teammates?
Well, I think when you've never set boundaries, you have to figure out your tone, your language, your body language. You have to figure out all of that. And that's
Right.
what I'm saying is that kids need their sport to kind of help them figure it out. They have to figure out what is appropriate to say, what's not appropriate to say. Yes, you have boundaries, but you can't sit here and scream and cuss at me.
Right.
And that's where parents can say, or the coaches, I understand what you're trying to do, but this is not the correct way. I understand you're frustrated, but this isn't the correct way. And you're naming what the behavior is that's not correct versus saying, quit being disrespectful. Well, what exactly is disrespectful? It's the language, the words, the tone, like what they don't know. And so when you say that, they just shut down, but being very specific when they are pushing on that line of what do you mean that they need to fix. I think that's so important of you naming it, saying, I understand you're really frustrated, but you're not going to scream. And you're talking about the correct way to set boundaries, right? A boundary isn't what someone else does. It's a boundary what you do. If you scream at me, we will not have this conversation.
Right. So
if you keep calling me after 9:00, I will not answer the phone. Right. So like, what are the things that you're going to do? Because you can sit here and be like, Coach Q, stop yelling at me. That's not going to set a boundary.
Right.
If you keep yelling at me, I won't engage in this conversation.
Right. And I as a coach, I don't have a problem with that. If a kid because what I do is I learn how a kid respond to certain things. And once they show me how they respond, then I change. Like if I yell and the kid responds to it as being hyped and it gets them hyped, you know what I mean? Then I know what button to push with that kid. And if I yell at the kid and they like climb up, then I know what button to push with that kid. Like I gotta be a little, softer with that kid than I with
But
this
also,
kid.
Coach, let's be honest. The amount of kids who say they can take hard coaching actually can't. Right? The amount of them, I can take it. I like when a coach is hard on me. Bro, you were about to be in tears when I told you weren't doing the right defensive posture. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they want to think that they just strong. Like, it's okay if you're sensitive. It's okay, but name it. Don't try and be like, I can take anything. No, you can't. And also, you shouldn't. Like, so many kids try and pride themselves on being the one that can take it all. You shouldn't. You shouldn't be treated like that. You shouldn't be choked out like if you're with Bobby Knight, right? You shouldn't be cussed out. You shouldn't, like, those things that they try and wear as like a badge of honor of being able to take the hardest of coaches. You shouldn't have to take it.
Yeah, I ain't going that far. I ain't going that far to choke you out. I ain't going that far. I ain't put my hand on nobody else's kids. I am not going that far. So how does saying no actually protect an athlete's confidence?
Because so a thing I think about when we talk about building confidence, in reality, the only way to build confidence is to go through hard stuff. That's the only way.
Right.
You can sit there and do 200 free throws in a room, and that will give you some confidence. But guess what? There's 2 seconds left in the game, and you miss that free throw. Guess where your confidence is going? Right back down. You make that free throw. Guess where your confidence goes? So the only way to gain confidence is to go through hard things. That's the only way. That's the only way to build trust. You can do 15,000 trust falls a day. You can do all of that. But the only way to gain confidence and trust is to go through the hard things with people together and say that I see we went through this hard thing together and I can trust you and how you treated me.
Right.
And so when we talk about kind of this build of saying no, building confidence is you get confidence when you say it, when you say it boldly, when you keep like, hey, this is like, I'm not going to do this thing. And you hold your end up, even if the other person gets mad. You're able to stay strong in what you say. Because what tends to happen is that if you've never set boundaries before and you set them with someone, they will try and wear you down. They will just keep going at you. Come on, just do it. Come on. Until you're like, fine, I'll just do it. And that's their goal, is to wear you down.
Right.
And so if you can stay strong in times where people try and wear you down, that's going to build confidence. And confidence is in different types of things, right? The confidence of making a free throw with 2 seconds left is a different confidence of being able to set boundaries. But they all are intertwined. And it shows you a depth of your strength. If you can be confident when you go home and you're able to tell your grandfather to not talk to you in that way.
Right.
If you're able to tell your mom, if so-and-so talks to me, I will not stay here for Thanksgiving and leave. That helps you build confidence. It's hard, right? It's really hard. And it's really ugly. And those are the ways to build confidence.
Right. And like you said, if being a parent, if you don't know how, it's hard to teach your kid how to do it. So what's one boundary that you wish more parents had with their kids in sports?
You mean the boundary that the parent had or the boundary that the kid had to the parent?
What boundary do you think the parents?
I think a
The
boundary
parents
that, and this might be a little spicy, Coach.
you good.
I think that parents should have the boundary that they don't need to be at everything that their kid does.
Right.
Because I see these parents, and you see them, they come and sit down for practice, and they're there at every single practice, and they're there at every single game. And oh, your kid has 5 days of camp. Guess what? They're at every single camp session.
Mm-hmm.
Set the boundary with your kid. You have 6 away tournaments this season. Which 3 do you want me to go to?
Right.
The other 3, I'm going to be at the house. I'm not going to go to every single practice. Right? Like, those are boundaries, because I think what happens is that, you have the kids that don't know how to operate without their parents around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's dangerous for a kid. They need to learn how to be independent. And so that's why I think a boundary a parent should have is that I'm not going to everything. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I don't want to watch you. But for my sake as a human, because I know you've seen it so many times that when a kid stops playing, the parents are devastated because their whole life was wrapped around the kid's sport. Their friend groups, everything they did, they would go to practice, then they would be like, I don't have any time on my schedule. Well, because you didn't do your grocery shopping. You could have done your grocery shopping, picked up Tommy, and been gone. But instead, you sit there for 2 hours and just record. No one needs to see that much tape of Tommy. So I think it's this idea of setting the boundary that they deserve to have their own life.
And that's I think that's one of the reasons why I put the 3 parents off my team this year, is because like I can care less. Parents, you can leave, you can stay, but just don't disrupt my practice if you're going to stay. Right. So these 3 parents is like, I had to tell them like 2 or 3 times, like, you're talking too much. You know what I mean? Stop talking to your kid while I'm trying to talk to him. This one guy, and oh my gosh, we was playing against our older team, and his daughter only been playing basketball for 3 years, but she's really good, like really good, and she about 6'2", so she get a shot block. This dude kicked the water bottle straight across the court.
You're lying.
I'm not lying.
What?
That was he's a guy that do not have any boundaries, like with his daughter. So now a friend of mine who now trains his daughter tells me that she's starting to talk back to him now. Yes. Like, because he's always has something to say, even if she do something right. And this is one thing I told him. I said, your daughter is never going to reach her full potential because she has performance anxiety. And he's like, what you talking about? I said, because every time your daughter do something, no matter if she make a shot or miss it, she looks at you. And he holler, well, you told my daughter not to say nothing to me? I said, yeah, I told her that. When you miss it, do not look at your father. If you look at your father, I'm putting you on the bench. Don't listen to him. Nothing like that. But and when he's not there, like you said, when he's not there, she plays with no fear, nothing. She's a different type of player when he's not there. So, I mean, parents struggle with that. And if a parent is struggling with letting go of that type of control, what advice would you give them?
So interesting you mentioned that. So there's a woman who owns Beta Bay Boys Volleyball Club. Her name is Ariel Houlihan. And she likes to mic up, and there's this one where she's coaching her team, and like what you said, the parent keeps coaching her kid, like keeps coaching to the point when, like, I think the play ended, she walks around to the stands and she's like, enough. Stop coaching your kid now. Do you understand?
Oh, I seen that. I seen that video. Yeah.
And so I think the thing is if a parent can't stop coaching their kid, they need to stop going to practice. They need to stop going to practice.
Yeah.
They need to stop doing that. They literally, to me, if you're going to watch your kid, watch them be at the very back. Don't be where they can see you. And also, you have to be able to have the ability to self-reflection to say, like, to tell your kid, I'm trying to not coach you. Don't look at me. Like, have that conversation.
Right.
Because the one thing I'm grateful about my mom is that she didn't know anything about volleyball. So she was a good coach me. She didn't know anything. These parents now, So there's this one on the Facebook group. This parent asked about essentially why a coach isn't taking out an athlete. And I said, and she's like, I just want to learn from a coach's perspective. And I said, it's very complex. You want a simple black and white answer for a very complex reason.
Right.
What's the age of the player? What's the bench look like?
Mhm.
What's, what about the teams that they're playing? Like, is he trying to see if she can just go through it? Like all these complex questions. She keeps getting mad. I just want to learn. I just want to learn. No, you want a simple answer.
Right.
You want favoritism, politics. You don't want complex questions. If you want to learn, then think about the complex questions. That's the way to learn. And that's the thing about it is that some of these parents, they say they want something, but they really don't.
Right.
And they want to be as involved as possible. They want to know everything, right? They want to watch videos and they want to know everything about shots. And then it becomes I watch this coach, I watch this trainer, that doesn't matter. Everything you're doing is not in the front seat, right? That front seat is a different thing. Right. And when you're assistant, you can always theorize about what you're going to do when you're in that seat. You can say Coach Q did the wrong thing of subbing this person out, keeping this person. You can theorize everything until you're the one making the decisions. Until you're the one that has the consequences. I did a podcast with my Five with Fry with athletic director Allison Kern. And it's a wonderful, wonderful podcast. And she talks about when you're in the person in power, it's not about you taking the power to be able to take the consequences.
Right.
And a lot of these parents are the ones who want to theorize everything they do right, but they're not willing to take the consequences when things go wrong.
Nope. So what's one practical strategy parents can use when disagreements arise without hurting their athlete's confidence, like with their kid?
Disagreements about what?
Like just for instance, think about the guy that I just told you about, right? So what strategies could he use when disagreement arises with his kid about how he actually acts during the game and during practice?
The reality of it is that he's never going to think he's the problem.
Okay.
Because he's there to help his daughter. One way would be literally self-reflection of how am I directly affecting the impact of my athlete's growth? You think you're helping them, but you're not. You're in no way, shape, or I know this one mom. Her daughter, she goes to everything. Her daughter is attached to the hip. I'm like, oh, when they graduate, it's gonna be tough. It's really tough. And parents itself, there has to be a level of self-reflection. And that's the thing. There's no strategy for a guy who literally is coaching his daughter from the bench. If he wants to, a strategy would be he need to get his butt on that bench and start coaching.
That's what I told him.
If you that big of a coach, there are these parents who will be on there and be like, I don't have any experience coaching, but these are my thoughts. Once you said the first line, the rest doesn't matter.
Right.
It does. If you've never been in the hot seat, you can't say what you would do or won't do. Right. You cannot. The feelings, the team, you can't. And so I would say for him, coach. When I used to referee and parents would get mad at a bad call, I said, you have three options. Be quiet. You can leave or you're going to be refereeing.
Right.
And now you're going to feel what it feels like with that pressure. Why are the kids not paying attention? You're not paying attention. So a thought would be get his butt out there and coach. You know so much. Go out there and coach.
Right. And that's one thing I told him. I was like, y'all can coach. Take your kid. Why don't you take your kid and you start your own team and you coach? Like the friend I was telling you about. So the parents I put out my team, he started training their kids. So they was like, Coach, can you coach them? He's like, I don't really want to do it. I just want to train them. I don't want to coach them because I know how y'all are. And they practically begged him to coach. So he decided to do it. And I told him, don't do it. And it seemed like every time I tell him don't do something and he go ahead and do it, it always backfire on him. And I be telling him, dude, I've been doing this forever. I know when something not good, so stay away from it. And he did it anyway. Now, this past weekend, the same father was about to fight a 50-year-old woman. Yes, at the game. Because his daughter and her daughter got into a little basketball something, a push. Yeah. So he like, yeah, I ain't doing this no more. I said, I told you anyway, you shouldn't do it because of him and how he reacts at games. And that's another reason why I told him he couldn't come back because of that. But the other two parents, He was like, they started talking about how I coach. I said, I told you they was going to do that. He said, so I'm just going to tell them to go ahead and coach the kids for the rest of the season and I ain't coming back. I said, you should have been to that. Let them coach them since they know everything. Let them coach them. Like you said, it those type of parents, like, I don't deal with. And then my parents was getting, the other parents on the other side was like, yeah, can you get rid of them because they're toxic. They're really toxic. So here's a question. What's the difference between good leadership conflict and toxic conflict?
So I think the difference between good leadership conflict and toxic conflict is that there's kind of guardrails around how we treat each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because many times, think back about the last conflicts we got into. Many times, it's not about what's said; it's how we're treated.
Right.
And if I'm treated horribly during conflict, I'm not going to want to navigate. And so I think that's the problem, is that we don't talk to our kids about the right way to engage in conflict. I'm actually going to do a post. This woman on Facebook, and her name's like Miss Arnsberger. She says, I teach kids how to not like each other.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what she says is that she teaches kids, like, number one, actually, I think I wrote it down. Here, I will, let's see if I can find, because it was such a really good thing that I was like, okay, this is something that I wrote it down. But she had some, let me see. Here, if I can find it. I probably can't. But like one of the things that she mentioned in there was like, just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you have to make everyone else not like them.
Right.
Just because you don't like them doesn't mean that you create division on the team and pick sides. Just because you don't like them doesn't mean that you make them hate themselves. Right? Like, what are the boundaries around conflict? That's good leadership. Conflict is we can butt heads. We'll treat each other right. Yes, things might get spicy, but I can trust you that you're not going to call me out my name, say inappropriate things, right? Like, take it to other people. That's the difference, is that I know that this conflict is between me and you and me and yours. I can trust you're not going to record it. You're not going to put it on Snapchat, like all these things about it. I can trust that you're listening to me, and you might not go with my idea, but I can trust that you've heard me.
Right.
And those are things that help with good leadership. And when we talk about captains, I actually did, like, I have this whole captain worksheet and how to select captains and how to think about captains, and we don't help them enough think about, how do I navigate conflict with my co-captain, with my coach, with my teammate, with my roommate, right? Like all these ways that conflict occurs. We don't teach them that. We see good leadership in people, which means that they usually speak up, they work hard, and that's like, okay, you're a good captain, now go.
Right.
We don't teach them all the hard things. We say, oh, there's a conflict on the team, go handle it. They have zero skills.
None at all.
And then we wonder why it blows up. It might be even worse. Well, we ask someone who has no skills in conflict to go handle a really hard conflict with two of their teammates. Well, what do you think is going to happen?
Right. I think we had an issue like that in the season ain't even start yet, but it happened all over the summer. So I had to call the parents because my assistant coach was like, man, this is the first week of school and it ain't looking good for us. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So it was 3 girls on our team, best friends, right? So over the summer they had a fallout, and it was if you was in that meeting, you'd have been like, what? That's the reason why y'all had a fallout?
What was the fallout about?
It was about one girl. They were best friends. So the girl friend was a friend with another girl. So the girlfriend was a friend with all of them. So one day they wanted to go out, and the girl of the other girl, the best friend girlfriend, that used to be a girlfriend, was going to go out with the other 2 girls, right? So the girl that was their best friend, she got mad. So throughout the whole summer, it just became, oh, now you want to hang with her. You know how we was when we was together. You was my best friend, and now you want to hang out with my girlfriend. and they just got a whole big thing going back and forth with people wanting to fight each other. So when I heard that, I said, look, we're not doing that. We're not having that on this team. Like, so I called all the parents and I said, we need to have a meeting. So I brought all the parents together because the parents was like, what's going on? So I brought all the parents together and me and my assistant coach had to mediate this with them. And when they was like, this is the why, I said, really? Like, this is why y'all beefing? Y'all been best friends for this long and you're beefing. So we had to make both of them see each other's side and see how they feel. And it turned out pretty well after that, after the crying and all that stuff. And the girl just felt like she was losing her best friend to her girlfriend and stuff like that. And they didn't know how to handle the conflict. So we had to mediate it to teach them how to handle it. And it worked out. It worked out pretty well.
But that's the thing is, I think so many conflicts over what would be considered minor things, right? It's minor stuff, but people don't have the skills to navigate it,
right?
And so minor becomes big. Instead of someone saying, "I feel like I'm being left out," and you guys are becoming better friends, and it hurts my feelings. Instead of having that conversation, it becomes this making people pick sides, right? Small things every single time they're going to hang out. Well, now the thing that you are worried about comes to fruition because they don't want to hang out with you because of the things you keep saying.
Yeah. And that's how it was. That's how it became.
Right. It becomes like, well, and then maybe it even is that they're doing stuff in secret because they don't want to hear your mouth.
Yeah. And that's how, that's exactly what happened.
And the self-fulfilling prophecy happens. Instead of you being honest with it, you make the situation worse and worse without having the conversation about how you feel.
Right. So can you share a story maybe from your book where conflict where conflict created growth instead of destruction?
Oh man, I think about like the conflicts I have with my chief of staff. She and I get into arguments. And the one thing that she told me that made, because my mom hated conflict. She had 5 kids by the time she was 25. And they adopted me when she was 41. So she didn't have conflict skills. Right. And so I, would be silent, then blow up. And the one thing that I think my chief of staff and I do well is that when we have conflict, we know we're getting on the other side. We know we're getting on the other side. And I try and be very, I don't know if the word's cautious, but very thoughtful about how I interact with her in conflict, especially because of the power dynamic. I try and be very thoughtful so that when we get on the other side of this conflict, I didn't cause repercussions because of how I treated her. And so I think that's the thing is like when you have a position of power over people, in reality, you can act and say however you want. You can. And there's serious repercussions that happen to the relationship. And many people in power don't think about it. They'll try and say, I'm sorry. They'll try and get the person to talk to them. But in reality, there are a lot of repercussions that come with it. Right. And so I try and be very thoughtful about it. And if I didn't, I think it could destroy our relationship, working and friendship, because of how I treated her when I was at my most angry, pissed off, afraid, hurt, whatever it is. And it doesn't say that there aren't times where it'll be like, I need to pause. I'll call you back. But we continue the conversation. It's not me jumping off and then I feel better pretending like it didn't happen. We still have the conversation.
That's good. Because me and my so when I first joined the school where I'm at, where I'm head coach at, it was this female assistant coach, and I told her I was going to keep her on. Right, my AD, he was like, "Dude, I wouldn't do it," right? Because he thought she was such, not a problem, but had some things that probably wouldn't make her a really good coach. And kind of find out we had a lot of conflict over the past 2 years. And I think it was simply because of the simple fact that she felt as though she never had a voice. Like the coach that was before me, she felt as though he never let her speak. Right. So she thought I was like that. And I told her I wasn't like that, but I guess she had to see it because I told her this year, I said, I fired you like 6 times. 6. She like, really? I said, yeah, I fired you like 6 times. I was like, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you my associate head coach. And she was like, what? I was like, I'm gonna make you my associate head coach. And she was like, why? Because I said, because no matter what man you go through, you're always there, no matter what. And we have conflict with each other, but we figure a way, to get through that conflict. And it just made our bond, whether you know it or not, it just made our bond stronger. And like I said, you always there, no matter what happens. You always there. And she come back and apologize for stuff that she did. But I had to tell her, I was like, you got to really think about this. When have I ever told you no? When you asked me if you could do something, when you asked me if you could plan this, when you asked me if you could say this, when you asked me, I gave you more of a voice than what I had. I let you talk more than me. Mm-hmm. So I just think her past experience with not handling conflict with that other coach caused her to have conflict with me, which was really unwarranted for the most part. But it happened, and I think I was right to do that. And I told my AD that I was going to do that, and he said, first he looked at me like I was crazy, and then he said, "That's what we was talking about last year, giving her more responsibility." And then this is what he's gonna say. He's gonna say, "It sounds like you trying to leave." I said, "No." I said, "No. I'm trying to get her to leave." And he was like, "What you mean?" I said, "Every coach that ever been under me, I developed them, and they became a head coach somewhere else." I said, "That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to develop her to become a head coach so she can go somewhere else and possibly be a head coach. Or if I do decide to leave, take over here." I said, so that was it. So he's like, "Yeah, that's good. Go ahead and do that." But so what's one lesson from your I said no that you feel parents of athletes absolutely needs to hear?
One lesson is that you have to learn to control your emotions better because they're watching it. And if you don't control your emotions, they're not going to control their emotions because you're teaching them what's acceptable. You're teaching it's acceptable to yell at coaches, right? Like I think back when I was a coach and I would be like, I tell my kids, you can't yell at the referees. I can. Well, why do I get to? Like, why? Why is it that I get to? And so you as a parent are literally teaching your kids how to respond in really hard moments. So if you're kicking a water bottle, you're telling them that they can kick a water bottle.
Right.
Because you can't sit here and say, don't kick water bottles, and then you kick a water bottle like you're going for a field goal. No, you have to learn to emotionally regulate because your kid is watching you do that. That'd be the one lesson.
Wow. All right, so before we get to our fun fire round, why is it, and tell all the parents why this is so important, because you was a college coach, right? You was a college coach. Why is it important for athletes to learn boundaries early instead of waiting until they get into college or adulthood?
Because they're going to be putting themselves in really bad positions to learn boundaries. One of the things is that if I kind of have this idea, it's called micro advocacy, small things that build up to big advocacy. I cannot expect if I had a daughter for her to say no in a really hard situation and she's never had to say no before. Like that's almost impossible. You're setting them up for failure. And so getting them to learn to say no and set boundaries early on builds that skill, that confidence in doing it. So that when they get to college and they're in a party and people are doing cocaine or whatever it is, they're like, I'm out of here. Versus saying, oh, I don't want to make people mad. I'll just stay. And now they get caught in some sting or some shit, right? Like if you don't teach them early on to set boundaries, they will be put in some really bad positions. I know that I've had so many athletes I've coached and they've done something. I'm like, well, why would you do it? You know it was wrong. Yeah, I knew it was wrong. I just didn't want my friend to be mad at me. You knew that they were doing XYZ that was bad, but you were more worried about your friend being mad than going to jail or whatever it is. And so you've got to teach them early on so that they can learn how to be able to advocate for themselves and leave bad situations, bad parties, bad relationships, bad jobs, whatever it is. You have to teach them that. There was a woman on Volleyball Moms who was like, the coach is toxic and says racial comments and weight and all of this stuff. And what should we do about it? Take your daughter? Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, I spoke to my daughter and she's going to stick it out the rest of the season. Then the situation is not that bad. If you're saying the coach is doing all of these bad things, you should be yanking your daughter immediately and saying, I understand you want to play, but based on all these things, it is not safe for you.
Right.
But we see coaches or parents come on here and say, the coach is strangling my daughter and doing all these things. What should we do? take your daughter.
Leave.
If it is that bad, you're teaching your daughter that she does not deserve to stay in those things just because she wants to play volleyball. No. And so that's the thing, is that you cannot expect them to advocate for themselves in really, really hard situations if you have not given them the training wheels to do it when they're young.
Right. That's great. All right, fam. So, look, you heard gems about conflicts, leadership, and boundaries. But we're not done yet. The fun fire round is about to bring out Dr. Jen's personality in a way you haven't seen yet. So, stick around. It's going to be a good one.
Ding, ding, ding.
All right, Doc. Let's get into the fun fire round. Now, Doc, you used to be a coach, right?
Yeah.
Basketball coach, right? So you know how important volleyball coach. I'm sorry. I used to be a volleyball coach too. I love volleyball, by the way.
Good.
So you know how winning is, right? Winning is important. Got it? So listen, we're down 10 points. We're down 10. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'll probably give you 3 points if we're going basketball style. So I'll probably give you 3 points if I really love the question. I'm at the answer. I give you 2 points if it's a good one. I give you 1 point if I don't like the answer, and I'm gonna give you. I give you 1 point if I'm okay with the answer, but I'm gonna give you 0 points if I don't like the answer at all. Nobody ever lost this game, so you can't lose this game. You can't be the first.
What's the highest amount of points somebody's got?
They beat by 6. They won by 6 points.
Okay.
Because we had to go on overtime. All right.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to ask you one question, though. And if you get this question and I don't like it, then you're going to lose 5 points. So.
Okay.
All right. So, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea. Good. All right. 2 points for that. Best hype song before a big speaking event?
Oh, gosh. So, it depends on who the audience is.
Okay.
Because if it's going to be a majority white audience, that's I know the age demographic, I'm going to do Juvenile, back that ass up.
Okay.
Just the first 11 seconds.
Okay.
Because once you hear the beat, you like everyone's doing this.
Right.
If it's like a black audience, I'm playing Knuck If You Buck.
Okay. All right.
Those are my right out the gate.
All right. So I'm gonna give you 3 points for that. All right. So we have 5. We down 5 right now. Because you listen, if you would have said something by Drake, you would have lost
Absolutely
5 points.
Absolutely not. There's no way in hell. Absolutely not. I have a reputation to uphold. Absolutely not.
I was going to give you. Oh, you were going to get it if you would have said Drake.
No. Absolutely not. I have friends I like to keep.
Right. So, next question. What's one boundary you wish more parents set in youth sports?
What's that?
Their time. Keep your ass away from the gym. Yes, your boundary is you get to be a human too. So if your kid's like, I want you to come to everything. No, pick 3 tournaments and those are the 3 I'll come to. Set the boundary so that they can still be human.
Great. Got you. All right. So that's 3. So we 8. So we down by 2. And you got 2, 4, 6. You got 5 more questions. All right. So fill in the blank. Say no is actually saying yes to
your self-esteem.
Oh, great. Love it. Another 2 points. All right. So what's the funniest reaction you've gotten when someone hears you're a sports geographer?
Geographer.
I mean, because I don't even know what that.
No, you're fine. I think the funniest reaction is people just are like, does that even exist? And I always tell them that, like, if you look at PhDs, people do PhDs. Like, we just make up stuff we want. People would be like, yeah, I did a PhD on the sex life of banana slugs from the 17th century. Like, they just, like, that's all a PhD is. You make something up and you study this little bit of information. So most people have no clue what it is, since I'm probably the only one that they'll ever meet.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, what is that? Okay, good. I'm glad you explained it, because now I know. All right, so that gives another excuse. So where was we at? We was at 7? Yeah, we had 9. Okay. All right, 1 more point. So if conflict was a sport, what position would you play?
If conflict was a sport, what position would I play? Oh, that's hard, because like I tell people, I am all about teaching people conflict literacy, and I will always knuck and buck.
Okay.
Like always. So I think for me, the position I would play, I'm going to say a wide receiver, because wide receivers be talking all the shit.
Right.
Always. I think of like Randy Moss, T.O., all of it. So yeah, so I'd say I'm a wide receiver.
Okay, that's good. So we up one. So if you could give your younger self one boundary setting tip, what would it be?
To use your words.
Mm-mm.
So many people do not use the words. They assume that people know. To literally use your words. If you're hurt, mad, upset, pissed off, use your words. That's, I think, the biggest thing, because that to me is you're setting the boundary of like, when you talk to me, I'm not going to stay on this. When you do this thing, right? When, I don't know if it's someone I'm dating, when you stay out late and don't call me, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z. And so I wish I just would have used my words a lot more.
Okay, good. Last one. So now we up by 3. Did I say 3 or 5? I don't know. My math might be off a little bit, but we winning right now. We blowing them out. All right. So give us one backbone moment you're most proud of.
One backbone moment that I'm really proud of. Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, I think that, so when you're doing a PhD, a lot of people have really bad experiences when you're doing a PhD. Mm-hmm. Like they have just really bad experiences, because when you go, your chair pretty much gets to decide so much. Your chair gets to decide the speed of you finishing your dissertation. Your chair gets to decide what you do research on. Like, your chair controls you. And for me, I came in at 39 doing my PhD, so older. And I had my own money. A lot of PhD students have to depend on the small stipend or the visa, so they really can't advocate for themselves. And I remember I was working with a professor, and I was probably like 3 days of the week, I would travel and speak, be there for 2 days for class, have the weekend, and I was gone all the time. And he literally was like, you're traveling too much. You're going to have to pick between doing research and traveling. And I was like, no, I don't. Like, I'll write y'all a check if I have to and be gone. Like, I'm not doing that. And I went and spoke to my grad chair. He was like, no. Right. And I think so many people would have just made a decision. Right. Costing them their PhD or their career. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And I stood up for myself. And so I think for me, like, throughout my PhD was a lot of me standing up for myself. Whenever you do a PhD, you have to do your coursework, you have to do written comps, oral comps, defend your proposal, and then defend your dissertation. And again, standing up for myself, I did my written comps. I said, we're doing my orals 10 days later. Like, we're doing this within the same 2-week span. Other people have waited months. And I really, like, controlled my journey. Also, during that time, I finished my PhD in 22. My mom passed away in 20. So I was also like, my mom died. Like, what y'all gonna do? Like, give me the B and we'll keep it moving. So I feel like I had a lot more control than other people would usually have, or a bigger backbone, because I didn't care. This degree was not going to, I wasn't going into academia. It wasn't going to make or break me. I wasn't trying to be known for the research. I just was getting it because somebody was like, you have 2 masters, you can't get a 3rd. Literally, that's why. So they were like, you need to get a PhD. That's the only reason why I got a PhD. Nothing else. And so because of that, I wasn't tied to it like other people were, who would be like, okay, I'll just do whatever they say to keep it. I was like, I'll write you this check and I'll be gone tomorrow. Like, I'm not gonna play with y'all. And so I was able to really chart my own course in ways other people had.
Hey, look, I am so glad that I had a chance to talk to you and talk about your book. And by the way, we just blew them out by 10 points. So she's Underdawg certified, y'all. But I'm so glad.
Always.
I'm so glad that I talked to you about this book. Don't tell her. I'm gonna get my wife the book, right? Because me and my wife been married going on about 10 years. I hope I got that right.
You about to start a conflict with that, coach.
Right.
Jeez.
But this is one thing I always told her. I'm like, you have a problem with telling people no. And I mean, not just me, like a lot of, because she's kind-hearted. Like, she's really kind-hearted. And I think she's starting to realize that too. But, and that's one of the reasons why I love her, because of her kind heart. But I told her, like, sometimes like you need to tell people no, like
And
because
be okay with them
right,
being upset.
right, and
Okay.
because that's how I am, and she get mad at me sometimes because I'm like that, and I'm like, nah, that like people get mad at me because I don't go to parties sometimes. Like, yo, I'm trying to build something here. Like, I don't have time right now. Like, I'll see you after I get finished this company I'm trying to build and stuff. I'll see you after that. I'll see you after that. No, I'm not coming. So you can be mad all you want, but if you ain't directly, and I tell people this all the time, if it's not directly affecting your life in a way that it's going to change your life, then say no. Say no to it.
Listen, I always tell people I said don't waste your peer pressure on me.
Right.
You're not going to peer pressure.
Right.
Like don't go find someone else. You're not going to peer pressure me. When I say no, like I'm done. There's not ifs, ands, or buts. And like I tell people, I think the problem is that folks don't realize is that when you say yes, people again are habitual line steppers. They will take it longer and longer. So say for instance we're at a party and I'm like, Coach, I'm ready to leave. And you're like, just 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes and we'll go. Understand when 10:01 happens and we're not leaving, now I'm even more pissed off.
Right.
And that's why it's like and then the problem is you want to stay longer. I'm ready to leave. I'm sitting there being shitty. And now we're arguing versus you being like, okay, bye. I get to leave. You get to stay for however long you want.
Right.
Right. And so that's the thing about it is that people will be like, no, just do this. And you keep in it. Now you're angrier and angrier and angrier. And that's why I'm like, no. When I tell someone I'm leaving, like the Uber's already waiting outside. I'm not going to stay longer. I'm not because if it comes and you tell me wait till 10:35 and it's 10:36 and you're still sitting there, I'm going to be heated as hell. So to save our relationship, to save us not fighting, I'm going to leave. And people have to be okay with that. And that's where people aren't okay with. They know that you don't want to stay, but they, for some reason, don't want you to leave.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Leave.
All right. So we got one more question. This is my signature question I ask everybody on my show. I don't know. It might relates to this, but again, you was a volleyball coach, so you could relate to it. So what does being an underdog means to you, and how do you carry that mindset on and off the stage?
I'm always an underdog. I have a massive chip on my shoulder at all times. Like I live and breathe that because what it means is that people don't think you're going to do what you're actually going to do. People doubt you. And like with my tech company, we're always the underdog and that's okay. You have to be okay with being the underdog and people not believing you until they believe in you. And so that's just a part of it. And so for me, it means like my whole life has been an underdog and I'm okay with that. I don't, but it's grown the chip, and so it makes me do even more because of that.
Great. Love the answer. I'm the same way. People like, yo, why? I said, do you see everything I wear? What does it say? Underdog. Exactly. I live that. I love it. Why you want to? Because look, I don't follow everybody's circle. I don't even try to be in everybody's circle. So I just love being that underdog. All right, Dr. Jen, listen, tell everybody where they can find your book, where they can follow you at, so they can, because I really enjoyed this. I think a lot of people, especially my parents and my athletes that's watching, is going to get a lot out of it. So tell people where they can find your book so they can learn how to set boundaries because they need to.
Yes. So you can go on Jen Fry Talks on all social media. You can buy my book, I Said No, on Barnes & Noble or Amazon. If you want a signed copy, just head over to my website, jenfrytalks.com. You see where it says book on the top, and then you'll get for $20 a signed book with a bookmark and stickers, I might add. And so, anything that says Jen Fry Talks, it will be about me. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Okay, so make sure you send me all that so I can put it in the description below so people be able to click on it. So when I put the podcast out. All right, listen, fam. Look, it was great having Dr. Jen on the show. Listen, Dr. Jen, this has been powerful. Parents, athletes, take this with conflict isn't weakness. Boundaries aren't disrespect. And leadership is forged in the fire of the tough moments. All right. And if you want your athlete to be trained on things like this, on stuff you just heard, you can tap into the Underdawg Voice Academy. Start your 5-day Underdog Challenge for just $27. That's less than $7 a day to build confidence, leadership, and toughness. You can click on the links below in the description. And if you're not really sure where your athlete is at mentally, take the Underdog Voice Athlete Quiz. And don't forget to check out our Dog House community, a safe place for athletes to grow together. Now, always remember that every underdog has their day. I'm Coach Q with Dr. Jen, and guess what? We're out.